Texans, talk to me. It's been hot.
Real hot.
How are your lawns doing? Are you seeing drought stress? Do you have hot spots? Is your city on water restrictions? I want to know. What's up, guys? I'm Rhett. Welcome back to Lawn Insider. It's around 7:30 at night right now, so it finally cooled down a little bit, at least enough to grab the camera and get out here. But hopefully y'all can see that my lawn has fared pretty well with the current weather trend. If you're not from Texas, that current weather trend is nothing but triple-digit highs, and we never get any rain. We haven't gotten any rain since probably the first week of June, and we never even really get rain chances. So I can't even tell you the next time, even on the forecast, where we have better than a 20% chance of rain. It doesn't happen much. We are struggling here in Texas. So if you're living in another state right now and y'all are actually getting some rain, please send help, or at least send your prayers, because we definitely need them. Luckily, my city is still only on stage 2 drought restrictions. Don't know how much longer that'll last, especially if we never get any more rain, but I am allowed to water once a week. I think I've mentioned before, last year, I was already only able to water once every other week at this point. So that's when I kind of just threw my hands up in the air and was like, okay, we're gonna do a lawn renovation, and we did a leveling project because I knew the lawn would struggle a little bit. But overall right now, we're still holding our color pretty well. This yard hasn't seen any sort of fertilizer product since before we went on vacation, and that was at the end of June. And even that was just a little bit of liquid iron. So it hasn't seen a granular application in about a month and a half, almost going on 2 months now. And really, if the weather continues like it is, I don't know the next time I will put out a granular application. If I see on the forecast that we're actually gonna get a couple of days of rain, maybe 3 or 4 days of rain, that's really a pipe dream, in a week or two span, then I'll probably think about coming out here and putting out some granular fertilizer. But until then, I really just don't want to push too much growth when I know that the lawn is under stress from the heat and then just the lack of water. So I definitely have a few hot spots in the lawn, and most of them really are over here in the side yard. You can kind of see, hopefully anyway, these spots that are a little bit lighter and they're a little bit thinner. And even the blades of grass in those areas are a little bit thinner. But here's another example of a spot that is prone to struggle a little bit more whenever the temperatures heat up and we start to get less precipitation. So it's kind of the same spots every year. I do think that the blanket hydrotain treatment I made, at this point, it's probably about 6 or 7 weeks ago, I think that's really helped out the yard a lot. You can see that compared to the yards just in the surrounding area, that I'm holding my color a lot better. A lot of that has to do with frequent mowing and just watering correctly as well. But I do think the hydrotane's helped, but in these hot spots, I'm probably gonna have to even go to another level just to try to help those along. There's definitely no foolproof method, but whether that be spot treating it with hydrotane or this other product, I've actually seen some guys, I'm in several Facebook groups for lawns, and I've seen a few guys start to sing the praises of wetting agents. So naturally I had to get my hands on some wetting agent. So I'll show y'all what I've used. I've used it once. I applied it 3 or 4 days ago at this point. So we'll look at that, and then we'll talk about a few other things that we can look at to try to help our yard through this just kind of horrible weather that we're experiencing here in Texas. So here are the tools of the trade here for the wetting agent. I picked up both of these products off of Amazon. This is the actual application gun, and then this is the product. So this is a wetting agent pellet. And when you actually use it, you really only take off the lid, and then you put it into this tank right here. And once you turn that on, you just connect it to your hose. Once you turn that on, water flows through, and then the pellet will dissolve, mix with the water, and shoot out the nozzle right here. So that's how I do that. I actually, when I used it the other day, let's see if I can do this with one hand. I only used that much product. So you can see, since my yard is smaller, these little pellets, they're gonna last quite a while. Also, if you don't have super high water pressure, they're gonna last longer. And also it even says on the jar itself, if you put it in the tank like this, upside down, that's gonna make your product last longer as well because it's going to dissolve more slowly. I actually just did it normally where it was facing up and it still dissolved pretty slowly. But like I mentioned, I have applied that once already. If I haven't already, I'll put shots of that on the screen so y'all can see me applying that. And I'm just trying to do everything I can, throw everything I can at the yard to try to help it along, especially now that I'm still able to water and I have some hope of keeping it green. Once we start getting the watering twice a month, once every other week, you know, it's really tough then. So fingers crossed that that doesn't happen or we get some sort of relief in the weather pattern before then. But right now, at least in the 10-day, it's not looking super promising. So what I'm doing right now with my lawn to try to help it through this weather that we've been going through as much as I can, the main thing is water. So I'm getting between 1 inch and 1.5 inches of water in my lawn that one time a week that I'm able to water. I don't put it all down on one program though, because I don't want to saturate the ground and experience a bunch of runoff and waste a lot of that water, especially because my front yard's on a slope and you can see my backyard is on a pretty big slope as well. So what I do is I put down between 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch of water on the program, and then the irrigation system will be off for about 2 hours. Let the ground soak in as much of that water as it can, and then it will kick on and run again. And that's just, again, to prevent as much runoff as possible. The other thing that I did, and I alluded to earlier in the video, is that I put out a blanket hydrotain treatment earlier in the year. It was at the beginning of June, so really it was pretty good timing as far as right when the drought conditions started. And I do think, just looking at the lawn, I do think that that has helped, because there's spots in my lawn right now that are usually, especially last year, because last year we had similar, every year in Texas we have similar weather over the summer, and those spots are doing better this year when I pushed back that hydrotain treatment a little bit than they did in those other years. Like in my backyard back here, you can see that I really only have a couple of spots that are a little bit lighter, and one of them's right here, and you can even see some seed heads popping up. So I know this area is a little bit stressed. And then there's one right here as well. So I do think that that hydrotain helped. I don't think it's gonna perform any miracles when you don't get any water from Mother Nature at all, and it's just getting beat down with heat. It can only do so much, but I do think that it has helped. The third thing I just showed you, I started putting out that wetting agent, and I'm only spot treating with the wetting agent, so that isn't a blanket application. Theoretically, you could do a blanket application of that stuff if you have a smaller yard. Even on the jar, it recommends that it is for spot treatment. Another thing that I would do when the weather is like it has been. So my lawn right now is under regulation. I think it's helped me out that I haven't had to mow as often, because even though mowing frequently, I always tell you, mow frequently, that's what's healthy for your grass. And that's true, but mowing does cause a certain level of stress to your grass because we are cutting off that grass blade and the grass is having to repair itself. So since I have my lawn under regulation, I'm not having to mow as often, and the grass isn't getting too high to where it's scalping when I do mow, so I'm not putting any undue stress on the lawn. So plant growth regulator, if you have that option, that's kind of a good trick of the trade that you can try as well. Next thing is I've sort of backed off my fertilization program because I know that I'm not getting any help from the weather. I know that it's just hot. No rain. So my grass, whether I like it or not, is having some stressful situations put on it. And I don't want to push a lot of growth when my lawn is super stressed. So if I do see where I'm going to get a lot of rain in the forecast and maybe get some relief from this weather pattern, that's when I'll come out and put out a granular fertilizer. Until then, every once in a while, I might hit it with a liquid just to try to keep a little bit of color. but I'm not going to put out any heavy granular application. The last couple of things that I wanted to mention, first one's super obvious. If you're having areas that are struggling and you know that it is more than likely drought stress, then just go out if you can, if you have time, and try to hand water that area, because obviously it just needs a little bit more help. The second thing, and really the last thing I wanted to mention to y'all, is something that I don't even do, but I've seen other guys do it with success, and the science at least makes sense to me. Whether I do it or not, I actually can't do it because of our water restrictions. But if you're not on water restrictions, there's something called lawn syringing. Lawn syringing is when you basically set your sprinklers, your irrigation system, or your overground sprinkler, and you put a very small quantity of water on the lawn, and it's really supposed to act as like a mist just to cool down the canopy of the turf and bring down the total temperature of the lawn. And again, I don't actually do that. I can't do that because we're only allowed to water once a week at this time. But if you are in an area that you don't have to worry about water restrictions, that might be something that you can at least look into. I'm not the expert on that, but I have seen guys have success with that, and it just might be another tool you can add to your tool belt. All right, y'all, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up right here. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave it a like. If you're enjoying the content, you wanna continue to see more of it, hit that black subscribe button below the video. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the comment section below. I'll see y'all again soon. Pray for rain. Lawn Insider, out.